Most people, when they start out traveling, when they're young, they tend to travel in groups. And that is a good way to travel, especially when you're starting out. You have a few people that you can rely on each other. You are able to look after each other if you get into any bad situations. It just makes things a lot easier when you're starting out. But as people get older, they tend to travel either as a couple, or a lot of people start traveling solo. Now, me personally, I actually prefer to travel solo. I don't really like hanging out in groups. I like to be able to set my own schedule for various things. I actually have to be able to set my own schedule because I work a lot from the road. I might have to stop and do some work with a client or knock out whatever kind of work it may be. So I need to be able to put a halt on my travels when I have to. And the way I work, it just doesn't really, it's not compatible with group travel. But having said that, I actually do prefer traveling alone anyway, being able to just do what I want to do, not have to wait for others to do this and that. And it works out better for me. And I think solo traveling is becoming a lot more of a thing, even with younger people. Some people, just like myself, just prefer to travel solo. You can tend to have a richer experience when you're traveling alone. You're not so much stuck in your little group. You're more likely to talk and interact with other people that you might not be doing if you were traveling with your mate or a couple of mates. So I think there are a lot of benefits to traveling alone, whether you're an introvert or an extrovert. Whether you prefer groups or prefer being alone, either way, I think everyone should try traveling on their own at some point. So traveling solo is a great thing in my opinion, but I think you also have to give weight to the fact that when you are alone on the road in a foreign country, you can become more of a target to someone who is looking to maybe rob you or whatever it may be. Now, if you're 6 foot tall and 100 kilos, you probably don't have to worry too much. You will be left alone most of the time. Things can still happen to you, of course. But for everyone else, I think if you are traveling alone, you do have to be a little bit more careful because you don't have anyone to rely on as far as your mates being around. No one is watching your back. So you really have to take care of yourself. So in this video, I wanted to discuss some of the things that I think about when I'm traveling alone. And what I do to keep myself safe when I'm overseas. My name's Aaron, I'm from offshore in Asia. If you're interested in moving, doing business or investing out in Asia, head over to offshoreinasia.com and have a look around there. We'll do what we can to help you get on your way. Now, as I said, I've done a lot of solo traveling. It is my preferred mode of travel, traveling alone. But the fact is that you really do have to depend on yourself a lot more. And that's something I'm pretty comfortable with. I have over the years found myself in plenty of dicey situations, and when you're a bit fresh out on the road, you can get rattled easily, but also I have found that the longer you have traveled, the more kind of weird things that you come up against, the more kind of sort of weird situations that you have to deal with, or unsafe situations that you have to deal with, the more comfortable you get at being in that situation, but also navigating a way out of it. So what I've found is when something is about to go down, maybe someone has marked you as a target, they are going to follow you, or they may be going to rob you, you don't know what, but this has happened to me. You do get a sense that something is about to go down. You can feel it in the air, you can feel it in your gut. And what I've found myself is that usually gives you a window of opportunity to act. So what I've learned to do is that if something feels a bit off, don't wait for it to go bad. If something feels a bit off, just get out of there. As soon as you feel something's not quite right, that's your cue to go, and to always trust your gut, because your gut normally will give you a bit of a heads up when it's time to move on from a particular situation. If you notice someone's following you, if someone's looking at you a bit funny, if you just don't feel quite safe in the particular area, if you're in like a darkly lit area, and there's some people hanging around, you're not sure what they're doing, when you feel like things could take a turn, get out of there before things do take a turn. A lot of what it comes down to when a particular person is going to target you to rob you or whatever it may be, a lot of it comes down to opportunity. So you can't control everything that's happening around you, but what you can do is control what you can control. If you limit the opportunity, if you bring down the level of opportunity that is available to this other person who is targeting you, you drastically reduce the chance of something bad happening to you. So you have to control what you can control in a way that reduces the opportunity of this other person to attack you or whatever it may be. And I just want to say as well that Asia generally is, Southeast Asia where I spend most of my time, generally is very safe. Thailand and Chiang Mai in particular are extremely safe. I've walked around at night, on many occasions, never had a worry at all. I have had kind of found myself in some dodgy situations in Vietnam, in Cambodia, come to mind. Usually it's more around the tourist areas, and it's usually late at night in the bar areas as well. So you sort of get a bit of a feeling for what kind of areas you're more likely to run into trouble and what you can do to reduce the chances of running into trouble. And we're going to get into some of the things that you can do in a second. Now, in a perfect world, you should be able to walk around at any hour of the night, do whatever you want to do, but we don't live in a perfect world. That is the fact of the matter. So we just have to do what we can do to get by the best we can. And I'm not saying that either that you should limit yourself from going out onto the street, walking through neighborhoods you wouldn't normally walk through, or, I'm not saying you should stay in your hotel, live in a little resort bubble and not get outside on the street, because while the street is where things will happen to you if something's going to happen, the street is also where you get the richest travel experience, where you meet all of the most interesting people, where you get the best food. That's where you really get your traveling experience. So you don't just stay in your hotel, but just be aware that things can happen in countries. You can be a target being a foreigner there, and go out and do what you're going to do, but don't be naive either. So how do you not make yourself a target to someone who may want to follow you, rob you, attack you, whatever it may be? Let's go through a few things that you consider. The biggest thing that you should apply at all time is just keeping your wits about you, being aware of your surroundings. You're in a foreign country, you don't know how things work there. People will look at you a bit different. You're an outsider. They might see you, they might think you have money. Who knows? You're in an unfamiliar society. You need to just be a little bit more cautious about what you're doing. Don't walk around having your eyes glued on your phone all the time. Make sure you know what's going on around you. If you're standing at some traffic lights alone and you notice someone walk up close behind you, maybe just have a quick look. Make sure they know that you know they're there. That is going to make them think twice already if they did have some plan to sort of rob you or whatever it may be. Going out at night is a big thing. Most things that happen tend to happen at night. So when you go out, have a plan of how you're going to get home. If you don't know how you're going to get home, if you're going to walk through 20, 30 minutes through these neighborhoods that you're not familiar with, you don't know if they're safe or not, that's probably not a great idea. I mean, everyone wants to have a bit of adventure, but you are exposing yourself to an unfamiliar environment, and it could work out against you if you happen to walk through a dodgy neighborhood that you didn't know was a dodgy neighborhood. So have a plan for getting home. It might mean having a taxi. If you don't have a SIM card and you can't find a taxi, maybe go to a bar or a restaurant that has Wi-Fi where you can get on the app and order a grab home, something like that. Just have a plan for how you're going to get home. If you're going to walk home, maybe have an idea of which route might be the safest, not walking through dark, quiet streets, maybe sticking to the main roads, because the more you are around people, the less of a target you will be. If you can, try and avoid walking home late at night after a night out on the town. You're more likely to come across some dicey characters at 3 o'clock in the morning than you are at 8 o'clock at night, and they're more likely to target you for an attack if you are on your own. So avoid being alone, maybe go out with a friend if you can, and try not to put yourself in a position that you are clearly intoxicated. If an unscrupulous character is walking down the street and they notice that you have had one too many drinks, that might just be all they need to think, oh, hang on, I think I might be able to get away with this. Whereas if you are walking alert, having a good look around, clearly not intoxicated, then they might think, oh, hang on, this guy looks pretty with it, he's not a good target. Little things like that can just make all of the difference. One thing that all people can do when traveling through particularly developing countries, any country that may be poorer than the country you come from, is don't display your wealth. This could be flashing money at the bar, it could be the expensive watch you have, it could be the designer brand clothes you're wearing. Fair enough, you might want to look your best if you're going out for the night, but that doesn't necessarily mean flashing your wealth. If you flash your wealth, you've got the expensive watch, you're throwing your barts around like there's no tomorrow, you are going to attract people that may have an ulterior motive. If you just look like an ordinary traveler, you're dressing pretty plainly, and you're not throwing money around ridiculously, you're not wearing an expensive watch, you're much more likely to get left alone. The same goes for pulling out expensive equipment. If you have a fancy laptop, latest top of the range phone, or a nice camera, you are going to draw a little bit of attention. 99% of people will ignore you, but maybe there's 1% in that crowd that may think, oh, hang on, I don't think it'd be too hard to get this guy's camera off him. Now, if you do get in a situation that you can't get out of, you might want to try and create a bit of a scene. Raise your voice, maybe yell, tell them to off. The more you raise your voice and create attention to yourself, any people who are around are going to look and see what's going on. The person who's trying to steal your camera or your wallet, they're going to get a bit of a shock, and they're going to reconsider what they're trying to do. And with a bit of luck, they'll get out of there and run away, because it's no longer become a good opportunity for them to get your wallet without other people noticing. The other thing you can do is have some kind of protection device. Now, this might be something as simple as a whistle to, again, create attention to the scene, to scare off the attacker. It might be something more weapon-like, like, I don't know, like a mace or something. I think that's maybe legal in the US, I don't know. But if you are going to use some kind of, mace or capsicum spray, you need to be very careful that it is legal in the country you're using it. Because if you're using something that is illegal in the country that you're in, then that could just make more problems for yourself, especially if the police get involved and then they find out that you brought it into the country illegally, you're using it illegally, you might be charged with assault if the other person was injured. So just be very careful with that. Sure, you got to protect yourself, but you don't want to do it in a way that's going to make more trouble for you. Another thing you can do, of course, is learn some self-defense. Now, this is something that I think is good for confidence, to build up confidence in yourself, that you know that you might know a couple of moves or can handle yourself a bit better than if you didn't know how to get out of a situation. But also, what I've heard people say on this topic, and I think it's a valid point, is that if you are far enough away from someone to be able to throw a punch, then you're far enough to be able to run. And that's what you should really be doing. The first thing should always be to get out of there, is your first priority. Now, if it's gone past that and you have no choice but defend yourself, that's another matter. But you should always try and avoid that if you can. So that's all I really wanted to say on the topic. I guess this video was a kind of a video that I wanted to do more to hopefully spark a bit of a conversation. I want to hear, because like I said, I've done a lot of traveling over many years, and most of the time, 99% of the time, it's all good. But then every now and then I've had a few isolated incidents that have been a bit hairy that I have had to get out of. And I'm interested to hear if anyone else has had experiences with their solo traveling. What was it? What happened to you? What did you have to do to get out of it? Because like I said, solo traveling is a wonderful way to travel. I don't want to diminish that at all. I do recommend it to everyone who's interested in it. But at the same time, just keep your wits about you. Be aware of your surroundings. Control what you can control. And if you feel that a situation is getting a bit dicey, try and get out of there when your gut is telling you to get out. Don't wait until it's too late. Anyway, guys, that's it for the video. Share your comments and your stories down below. We'll catch you later.